Sagittarius. What to avoid this weekend to protect your light and align with your truth? Sagittarius, there's a sacred energy surrounding you this weekend. One that whispers both warning and awakening. The universe is asking you to pause, breathe, and pay attention to the quiet places where your light has been dimming without you even noticing. You've been giving so much, your time, your laughter, your understanding, pouring yourself into people, spaces, and dreams that don't always pour back. And lately, something in you feels a little duller. Not gone, just buried beneath the noise of others' expectations and your own constant motion. This weekend isn't about action. It's about awareness. About noticing the ways you shrink to fit into rooms that can't hold your fire. About realizing how often you silence your truth to keep peace that doesn't feed your soul. Sagittarius, your spirit wasn't designed to blend in. You are the cosmic traveler, the truth seeker, the one who turns every limitation into an opening. But even wanderers need to rest, not because they've lost direction, but because clarity requires stillness. The stars are asking you to protect your light, fiercely and lovingly, to stop giving away your energy to people or patterns that don't honor your truth, to remember that your freedom isn't something to be earned, it's your birthright. So stay with me. Let this be a conversation between your soul and the cosmos. Like, share, or subscribe. Not as routine gestures but as a quiet affirmation. I choose to honor my light again. Gate 1. Do not dim your light for comfort's sake. Sagittarius, the first thing you must avoid this weekend is the quiet self-betrayal that happens when you pretend to be less radiant than you truly are. You've done it so many times that it feels almost natural. You bite back your insights, hide your bold laughter, soften your convictions, and edit your brilliance so others don't feel small beside it. You tell yourself you're being kind, humble, diplomatic. But underneath, your soul aches because you know what you're really doing. Silencing yourself for the sake of peace that isn't even real. You've been taught, subtly, repeatedly, that your light is too much, too intense, too optimistic, too loud, too free. So you tried to make yourself manageable, digestible, easy to love. You learned to package your truth into something that wouldn't startle the world. But Sagittarius, you are the archer. You were never meant to stay in the quiver. Your ideas, your laughter, your passion, your vision, they are meant to fly. Lately, you've noticed how that light has dimmed. You look in the mirror and feel a strange disconnection. Where did the spark go? The one that used to make your eyes shine with mischief and wonder? The truth is, it's still there, but buried under layers of self-censorship. Each time you withheld your opinion to avoid conflict, each time you agreed just to keep things easy, each time you played smaller so others wouldn't feel intimidated, another thin layer of dust settled on your light. This weekend, life will show you where that dust has gathered. Maybe it'll be during a conversation where you laugh along even though your spirit disagrees. Maybe it'll be in a social setting where everyone expects you to play the entertainer, while no one truly sees you. Maybe it'll be in that familiar moment when someone dismisses your intuition, and you smile politely, pretending it doesn't sting. Each moment is an invitation to either shrink again or stand in your truth. The universe is urging you to choose differently this time, to stop negotiating with your light, to stop apologizing for your confidence, to stop mistaking humility for self-erasure. True humility isn't hiding your gifts. It's knowing your gifts are sacred and using them with purpose. Sagittarius, your light is not arrogance. It's guidance. There's a reason people feel drawn to your energy. It awakens something in them. Your laughter heals. Your perspective expands hearts. Your vision opens doors. But if you continue to dim yourself, you rob others of that medicine too. When you make yourself smaller to make others comfortable, you betray not just yourself but the very role your soul came here to play. To inspire, to awaken, to liberate. You may feel resistance as you read these words, that tightness in your chest, that inner voice whispering, "But I don't want to upset anyone." Remember this. Upsetting others is not the same as harming them. Sometimes your authenticity challenges people because it forces them to see where they've been hiding. That's not cruelty. It's light doing its work. You might think, but what if they misunderstand me? What if they think I've changed? And the truth is, you have changed. You're remembering who you are. You're returning to your natural frequency after months, maybe years, of playing an edited version of yourself. This weekend marks a threshold between pretending and living, between surviving and shining. There's a simple truth the cosmos wants you to hold close. You cannot dim enough to make another person comfortable in their own shadow. No matter how quietly you speak, your energy will always hum with brilliance. No matter how much you try to blend in, your essence will always catch the light. You can't hide what was made to illuminate. So this weekend, avoid the urge to disappear. When an opportunity arises to speak truth, take it. When someone downplays your joy, smile wider. When you feel the instinct to make yourself smaller, stop, breathe, and remind yourself, I am not here to apologize for my light. Imagine the version of you who doesn't censor herself, the one who walks into every space fully, not waiting for permission. The one who shares her ideas without checking first if the room can handle them. The one who laughs freely, speaks truth boldly, and loves without fear of being too much. That version of you is not imaginary. It's your truest self, waiting for you to call her back. Sagittarius, remember the times you've met people who carried that kind of freedom, the ones who seemed untouched by the opinions of others, who radiated something raw and magnetic. You didn't resent them. You admired them. You felt something inside you awaken, a spark that said, I want that. The reason you recognize that energy is because it's already yours. This weekend, protect your light like it's sacred fire, because it is. Don't give it away to people who only seek warmth but never stay to tend the flame. Don't downplay your achievements or humor or beauty, just to seem relatable. The world doesn't need another polite, dimmed soul. It needs the unfiltered, unshakable glow of a Sagittarius who remembers who they are. If you find yourself surrounded by those who get uneasy when you shine, take it as confirmation, not criticism. Their discomfort doesn't mean your light is wrong. It means your light is strong enough to reveal what they haven't yet faced. Bless them but don't bend for them. You can love people deeply without dimming yourself to match their fears. And when doubt creeps in, when that familiar voice whispers, maybe I should tone it down, ask yourself, who benefits from my silence? Who thrives when I shrink? The answer will tell you everything. So this weekend, your soul's assignment is simple but profound. Stop hiding. Stop explaining. Stop earning space you were born to occupy. Shine, Sagittarius, not as rebellion but as remembrance. You are not here to impress anyone. You are here to embody divine light, fiercely, gently, joyfully. And the moment you stop negotiating your brilliance, life begins to rearrange itself around your truth. Gate 2. Avoid those who feed on your light but never give back. Sagittarius, your energy is golden, warm, spontaneous, alive. When you enter a space, the vibration changes. Conversations open, laughter rises. People feel safer just because you're there. You are ruled by Jupiter, planet of expansion. So everything you touch grows, ideas, emotions, even other people's confidence. But lately, some have mistaken your light for a service they're entitled to. They've learned to orbit you like moths circling a flame, taking warmth without ever offering theirs in return. This weekend, the stars are warning you to notice these patterns clearly. You know who they are. The friend who calls only when they need a boost. The colleague who borrows your optimism to escape their own stagnation. The partner who praises your fire but quietly fears what happens when it burns beyond their control. They adore your light as long as it's convenient, as long as it makes their world brighter. But when you need replenishment, they vanish into shadows. It's time to stop calling this love. It's time to recognize that not everyone who admires your brightness has the capacity to stand in it. Your generosity is sacred, Sagittarius, but it is not infinite. When you keep pouring from an empty cup, your laughter turns hollow, your spirit weary. The flame that once danced begins to flicker. And yet you tell yourself, I can handle it. I don't mind giving. But you do mind. You just stopped admitting it. This weekend, you'll feel the difference between people who feed your light and people who feed on it. Pay attention to how your body reacts. When you think of meeting them, does your stomach tighten or your heart expand? When you leave their presence, do you feel inspired or depleted? Energy never lies. If your spirit feels heavier after an encounter, that's the universe saying, this connection needs boundaries. Sagittarius, you have a natural instinct to uplift others. You see potential everywhere, even where others see none. But not every seed deserves your soil. Some people mistake your compassion for consent. They believe your warmth means you'll always be available. This weekend, you must resist the impulse to say yes when your intuition screams no. That uneasy feeling in your gut is your higher self warning you that your light is being siphoned. You are not responsible for saving everyone from their darkness. You can offer guidance, you can offer kindness, but you cannot become their source of power. You are meant to light paths, not carry people down them. And if they only come alive when you're near, it's not love, it's dependency. You may feel guilty at first for pulling back. Sagittarians hate the idea of disappointing others. You thrive on connection, laughter, shared adventure. But this is the weekend to remember that mutual energy is what keeps relationships alive. When love is one-sided, it turns into quiet resentment. When giving never meets receiving, joy becomes fatigue. And your soul, Sagittarius, is tired of pretending that exhaustion is kindness. Avoid commitments that feel obligatory. Decline invitations that make you shrink. Say no to favors that cost you peace. You do not need to explain yourself. A no spoken in truth protects your energy far better than a yes spoken in guilt. Imagine this. You're at a gathering where everyone seems to glow: music, laughter, endless conversation. Yet, deep inside you feel strangely disconnected. You play your usual role: charming, engaging, lifting everyone's mood, but it feels rehearsed. That's your sign. You're performing brightness instead of being it. The real you doesn't sparkle for applause. She shines because that's her nature. But in this crowd, your light feels used, not celebrated. This weekend, you're meant to walk away from such scenes without apology. You may lose a few connections, yes, but notice how the air becomes lighter once they're gone. That space isn't emptiness. It's clarity. Into it, new relationships will flow, ones built on reciprocity, where your laughter is met with laughter, where your vulnerability is honored instead of exploited. Sagittarius, relationships are not meant to drain you. They're meant to mirror your growth. If someone only stays when you're convenient, they're not aligned with your expansion. And because your sign is ruled by truth, you cannot thrive in environments that demand emotional pretense. The people meant for you will not fear your freedom, they will celebrate it. They won't need to borrow your light because they have learned to tend their own. This weekend, the universe will test your boundaries. A message might arrive from someone who always reappears when they need comfort, but never when you need company. A subtle request may come wrapped in flattery. You're so good at this, could you help me just this once? Listen carefully. Help if it truly feels right, but not out of obligation. Your intuition already knows who drains you. Honor that knowing. Avoid confusing loneliness with loyalty. Sometimes when you finally pull your energy back, silence follows, and it's uncomfortable. You may wonder, did I do the right thing? Should I have helped them anyway? Yes, you did the right thing. That silence isn't rejection. It's healing. It's the sound of your soul reclaiming energy that was scattered. And as you begin to honor your own boundaries, something magical happens. Your true tribe begins to reveal itself. Those who don't come to borrow light but to share it. Conversations with them feel like breathing fresh air. You leave their presence feeling expanded, not emptied. That's the kind of energy your spirit craves. Mutual expansion, not emotional taxation. This is the deeper wisdom of your sign, Sagittarius. Generosity must be balanced with discernment. Without it, your blessings leak into ungrateful hands. With it, your fire becomes sustainable. A steady glow that warms rather than burns you out. So this weekend, protect your sacred spark. Choose where your attention goes as carefully as you choose where to shoot your arrow. Every no spoken with love is a yes to your higher purpose. Remember, your energy is not a commodity. It's a cosmic current. The right people won't need to take it, they'll dance in it with you. Gate 3. Avoid turning your light against yourself. Sagittarius, you've spent so much time learning how to protect your light from others, but now it's time to protect it from the most dangerous place of all, your own mind. You who inspire so many, who speak words that heal others, have lately been whispering the cruelest things to yourself. I should be further by now. I'm not doing enough. Maybe I've lost my spark. You wouldn't dare speak to anyone the way you've been speaking to your own soul. The third thing to avoid this weekend is the silent war against yourself. The harsh self-criticism disguised as self-awareness, the endless mental comparisons that steal your peace. You've mistaken reflection for punishment, growth for guilt. And while your heart remains generous toward others, you've forgotten to extend that same grace inward. Sagittarius, your ruling planet Jupiter, expands whatever it touches. When you feed it gratitude, your joy multiplies. But when you feed it self-doubt, your inner critic grows louder until it drowns out your natural optimism. This weekend, you're being asked to interrupt that pattern. The universe is whispering. Stop aiming your arrow inward. You've always been the philosopher, the seeker of meaning, the one who asks, "What does this teach me?" But sometimes the lesson isn't about analyzing your mistakes. It's about remembering that you are allowed to be human, beautifully imperfect, perpetually learning, forever evolving. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply becoming. That voice that scolds you, it doesn't come from wisdom. It comes from fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of being seen as less than brilliant. But here's the truth. Your light doesn't dim when you falter. It expands. Every mistake you've made, every misstep, every uncertain pause, it's all part of your becoming. You are the archer because your journey requires distance. You pull the bow backward, not because you're failing, but because you're gathering power to launch forward again. So this weekend, notice how you speak to yourself. Do your inner words nourish or wound? Do you celebrate progress or obsess over what's left undone? If you find yourself slipping into comparison, scrolling through the highlight reels of others and feeling small, pause, breathe. Remember that Sagittarius energy cannot be measured by timelines or metrics. You move in cycles of inspiration, not in linear progress charts. Your growth happens in leaps of faith, not in steady, predictable steps. Avoid the urge to measure your worth by visible success. Some of your most important victories are invisible: the boundaries you finally held, the tears you allowed yourself to cry, the truth you finally spoke. These moments may not sparkle on the surface, but they're the roots of your next expansion. You've always had a wide vision, seeing possibilities others can't. But when your mind turns inward in judgment, that vision narrows. It traps you in endless loops of not enough. The remedy isn't more effort. It's compassion. Sagittarius, self-compassion isn't weakness. It's fuel. When you forgive yourself, your spirit relaxes, and your creativity returns. This weekend, avoid letting perfectionism disguise itself as ambition. The voice that says, "You must be extraordinary at all times," isn't your higher self. It's your insecurity dressed as discipline. Real excellence grows from joy, not fear. And your joy is magnetic. It draws success naturally when you stop chasing it as proof of worth. You are allowed to rest without guilt. You are allowed to say, "I'm doing enough for now." You are allowed to not have it all figured out. You are allowed to be proud of yourself even when no one claps. Sagittarius, remember how you treat your friends when they're lost. You remind them of their brilliance, their courage, their purpose. That same tenderness belongs to you. When you look in the mirror this weekend, look with that same kindness. See not the flaws, but the light that persists despite them. You've been through storms that would have broken lesser spirits, and yet here you are, still curious, still seeking, still hopeful. That alone is victory. Avoid replaying past regrets as proof of failure. They're not evidence of weakness. They're evidence of effort. Every wrong turn taught you discernment. Every heartbreak taught you how to love deeper. Every disappointment refined your vision of truth. You don't need to erase your past. It's part of your constellation. If you hear that familiar voice say, "You're not enough," try this. Answer softly, "I am more than enough for the life that's mine." Say it even if you don't fully believe it yet. Because belief grows where compassion is spoken. The moment you choose to speak kindly to yourself, your energy shifts. Your light brightens. Your heart opens. Sagittarius, your optimism is sacred medicine. But even medicine must be replenished. This weekend, give yourself the gift of gentleness. Don't fill every hour with tasks just to feel worthy. Sit with yourself in stillness. Let silence remind you that your existence alone is valuable. The stars don't prove their worth, they simply shine. Avoid comparing your path to others. Some are climbing mountains, some are sailing seas. You were born to fly, not in straight lines but in arcs of discovery. Trust that your timing is divine. You haven't missed anything that was meant for you. You're simply arriving when wisdom calls you ready. And finally, remember this. Self-criticism doesn't make you stronger. It only exhausts the part of you that was born to explore. The archer can't aim steadily if her own arrows are turned inward. So lower the bow. Rest your hands. Offer yourself the same patience you've given the world. This weekend is a portal, one that leads you back to yourself. The moment you stop fighting who you are, your fire reignites. And once it does, Sagittarius, no one, not even your own doubts, can put it out again. Gate 4. Avoid anything that requires you to shrink your soul. Sagittarius, the final thing you must avoid this weekend, and in truth every day forward, is staying in spaces that cannot hold your full spirit. The places where your laughter must be quiet, your ideas trimmed to fit smaller minds, your dreams edited to sound more realistic. The people who only love you when you make yourself convenient. The situations that require you to barter authenticity for acceptance. You've done that dance long enough. Smiled when you wanted to scream. Stayed polite when your intuition begged you to walk away. Played easygoing, so you wouldn't be labeled difficult. You told yourself it was maturity, but it was survival, and your soul has grown tired of surviving when it was born to live. This weekend you'll recognize those moments instantly. A conversation that feels like walking on eggshells. A job that drains every drop of curiosity from your mind. A friendship that only thrives when you're the listener, never the one speaking. A relationship that punishes your independence instead of celebrating it. Each one will carry the same message from the universe. You don't belong here anymore. Sagittarius, freedom is not an indulgence for you. It's oxygen. You cannot thrive where you cannot expand. And yet, your compassionate heart often tries to adapt. You say, they mean well. Or maybe I'm expecting too much. But the truth is, you're not expecting too much. You're remembering your worth. The discomfort you feel in these spaces isn't arrogance. It's your higher self signaling. This chapter has expired. Avoid mistaking familiarity for safety. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean their presence still nourishes your growth. The soul evolves faster than human comfort allows. What once felt like home can start to feel like a cage. And this weekend, your spirit will feel the walls closing in wherever expansion has been denied. That pressure you feel? It isn't punishment. It's propulsion. The universe is gently, then urgently pushing you toward alignment. It's saying, stop asking for permission to leave what's already draining your life force. You do not need anyone's blessing to walk toward your own truth. You see, Sagittarius, you were never meant to fit into one box. You are ruled by fire, wild, exploring, restless fire. You're meant to outgrow structures, challenge beliefs, and build new worlds where honesty and joy can breathe. That's why certain environments suddenly feel unbearable. They're too small for your next version. So when you feel that suffocation this weekend, that quiet urge to leave the conversation early, to decline the invitation, to say, I can't do this anymore. Listen. That's your soul reclaiming territory. Every no that honors your truth becomes a portal for something greater. It may feel lonely at first, stepping away from spaces that once defined you. But this loneliness is sacred. It's the silence before the symphony. Because as you clear the noise, your true tribe begins to hear your signal. You'll start meeting people who don't just tolerate your fire. They dance in it. You'll find work that doesn't just use your intelligence. It celebrates your curiosity. You'll build relationships that don't clip your wings. They help you fly higher. Avoid, too, the temptation to justify others' mistreatment of your spirit. You tell yourself, they're struggling. They don't know better. I should be more patient. Sagittarius, compassion doesn't mean enduring disrespect. It means understanding others' limitations without lowering yourself to meet them. Love is not self-abandonment. Forgiveness doesn't require returning to the fire that burned you. This weekend, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. If they diminish your voice, dim your joy, or make you feel wrong for wanting more, that is your cue to release, not repair. Some connections are meant to teach lessons, not to last forever. And please, avoid waiting for perfect conditions to begin your next chapter. There will never be a moment when fear completely disappears. There will never be a guarantee that everyone will approve. But there will always be your intuition, quiet, steady, honest, whispering it's time. Don't delay your freedom because you're afraid of standing alone. The path will reveal itself once you take the first step. You are the traveler of the Zodiac. You move between worlds to expand them. And every time you walk away from something that no longer fits, you create room for something that does. So don't apologize for your evolution. Don't hide the parts of yourself that others call too much. Too passionate, too visionary, too honest, too alive. These are not flaws, they are flames. And those flames are meant to burn through illusions, not be contained by them. This weekend, protect your sacred fire. Avoid explaining your glow to those committed to misunderstanding it. Avoid fighting battles that drain your peace. Avoid seeking validation from people who don't even understand your language. Your energy is precious, spend it where it multiplies. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't ask, "Am I allowed?" but declares, "I am ready." You're realizing that peace doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being authentic. The moment you stop begging for space and start claiming it, your entire life realigns. Doors open. Opportunities appear. The right souls feel your vibration and find you. Sagittarius, this is the essence of your evolution. Learning that protecting your light is not isolation. It's leadership. You're not walking away from others. You're walking toward your destiny. And from that higher ground, your fire will guide others home to their truth too. Conclusion. The return of your fire. Sagittarius, this weekend is not about danger. It's about destiny. It's the turning point between exhaustion and expansion, between fading light and full flame. You've learned what to avoid. The shrinking, the draining, the harsh inner voice, the cages disguised as comfort. But more than that, you've remembered what to embrace: yourself. Your wild, radiant, unapologetically honest self. You came into this world to remind others what freedom feels like. To show that truth when lived fully isn't rebellion. It's alignment. Every moment you choose authenticity over approval, you shift not just your own life but the vibration of those who watch you. Your courage gives others permission to breathe. This weekend, let the universe recalibrate your energy. Rest when you need to, speak when your heart burns to, and walk away from anything that dims your spirit. Not out of pride, but out of sacred responsibility. The world needs your light. Not the edited version that fits, but the raw, untamed glow that changes everything it touches. When you wake up each morning, whisper this truth to yourself. My light is not a burden. My truth is not a threat. My freedom is not negotiable. And as the days unfold, you'll begin to feel it. That quiet click of alignment, when everything within you finally says yes. That's the sound of peace. Not the peace of silence, but the peace of self-trust. If this message stirred something inside you, share it, not for validation but as a vow. That from this moment on, you will never again hide the brilliance you were born with. Shine, Sagittarius. The world has waited long enough for your fire to burn freely again.